Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another review. Today I'm looking at some brand new TT rolling stock from Hornby. So far in Hornby's TT range, we've only really seen larger models. In terms of locos, it's been A1s, A4s, quite big steam locomotives, and in terms of rolling stock, it's just been coaches, Mark 1s and Pullmans. Today, I'm going to be looking at some rolling stock that's quite a lot smaller than all of that. I've actually got two models which are brand new, they've just come into stock, and here they are. So one of them is a Towed E brake van, and the other one is a 12-ton tanker. Now, I am familiar with the TT scale. I've done quite a few reviews in this scale already. And yet, the size of these models is still quite surprising. They are very, very, very tiny, and looking at them through the front of the box, they appear to be extremely detailed as well, which is good news. What's even more surprising about these models, though, is the price. They are quite unexpectedly expensive. The brake van, for instance, the Towed E, this is listed at £23.99 on Hornby's website, and the tanker is only a little bit cheaper at £21.99. Which means that yes, basically these tiny little TT models are at about the same price as 00 scale models, which is a bit confusing. In fact, on Hornby.com, you can buy a 00 brake van considerably cheaper at the moment. That's at £21.35. And in terms of the 12-ton tanker, well, remember this one in 00 scale? This is the Oxford Rail one, and the RRP of this 00 tanker, which was brand new 2 years ago, is 4p less than this new one in TT scale. So that is confusing, isn't it? I thought the TT locos were actually quite good value. They were considerably cheaper than their 00 counterparts, but that's kind of negated by the rolling stock price. If you buy a loco and say 20 of these wagons, it's really not going to be any cheaper than in 00 scale. Now, I am part of the Hornby TT club, so I did manage to get my 15% off on these models, but these two arrived 1 day apart, so I had to pay postage for both. So in the end, the price I paid for both of these was a little bit more than the RRP because of the postage, even though I had the discount, so that's not great either. But yeah, I thought Hornby were trying to get this scale adopted, and it's a hard sale anyway because obviously you have to go to Hornby and there's not that much to choose from. The fact that this is the same price or slightly more expensive than similar models you can get in 00 is a bit of an existential threat to the range, in my opinion. But that's not to say I think these are going to be bad value for money. I've not had them out of the packaging yet. Hopefully they will be worth the money. Hopefully they'll be quality. Hopefully they'll have die-cast chassis and lots of separate details. And hopefully they will be put together to a very high standard. And if they are, maybe they will be worth the money. But still, seems quite a lot when these models are less than half the size of their 00 counterparts. But let's find out. Let's take a look. The very expensive new TT wagons from Hornby. Alright, so two very different wagons. Let's start off, I think, with the brake van. So yeah, absolutely tiny box, and of course an even tinier brake van. Cannot wait to see what sort of detail they've been able to squeeze onto this thing. Let me show you the end of the box then. So the product code for this one is TT6012. It's a BR diagram 064 Towed E brake van, and it is Era 4. So yeah, this is a post-nationalisation brake van. Okay, well, let's pull it out and let's see what they were able to do with it. Really hoping that this is going to be representative of the price I paid for it. I hope that it will match the price in terms of its quality, construction and detail. Right, well, let's have a look. I have to say, looking at the model from outside of the box, it does look as though it could do. It does look impressive. Wow, this has to be possibly the smallest one of these I've ever undone. All right, and there is the brake van. Let's just lift it out straight away. And wow, yeah, this is a very lightweight brake van. I do think it is plastic in its construction. The body certainly is, and I think the chassis is as well by the feel of it. but it does look good, I think. The level of detail is clearly a little bit simplified compared with a 00 brake van, but it's still got everything on there, even though a lot of it does appear to be moulded. We'll take a closer look at that in just a second. But the moulded detail is obviously fantastic. Again, closer look coming up very soon. And the decoration looks to be pretty good on this. So overall, yeah, that is a nice brake van. Expensive, yes. Possibly overly so, but at least it looks like a good model. So more on that in just a second. Let's move on and have a look at the other model, that is the tanker. And I think there's a bit more of an opportunity to get some detail into this one, because tankers are quite visually complex, aren't they, with all of the cabling and such. Anyway, let me show you the end of the box then. So this one is TT6009. It is a 12-ton tank wagon, and it is mobile number 64, era 2 to 3. So this is a sort of pre-grouping / grouping era tanker. So let's get it out. Let's have a look. Appears to be the same packaging, which makes sense. Let's see what they've been able to do with this one. I reckon this will be the more impressive of the two, if I had to guess. And it's even slightly smaller, I suppose, isn't it? So let's see. All right, nice finish on it. Yeah, nice black paint job. Yeah, this is very, very, very tiny. But there it is, the tanker. And again, this is relatively lightweight. I wouldn't say it feels quite as light as the brake van, although I think it is still made of plastic. But clearly there is a lot more complexity here. You can tell immediately that a lot of the detail here is actually separately fitted and not just moulded as part of the body. And again, I will show you all of this in just a second, but yeah, this looks quite complex. I can perhaps understand why this one could be quite expensive, even though it's cheaper than the brake van, which makes no sense at all. But yeah, that is quite impressive. I'm really pleased with that. So let's have a closer look at both of these models. I'll weigh them and let you know what sort of heft we're dealing with. And then of course, we'll take a very, very close look at these models and their level of detail. All right, let's get started. So there it is, up close and personal for you, the new Hornby Toad E brake van in TT scale. And as you can see, this is a lovely little model. It is a very simple model, it's quite light on features, but when you consider the scale, I mean, here's the tip of my finger, it doesn't seem to be too bad at all. If you ignore the price, the model is okay. It is very lightweight, it weighs in at just 10.9 grams, and I suppose it is quite surprising that the main components here are just made of plastic. So that goes for the body, as you'd probably expect, but also the chassis and the sole bar as well, all plastic. There is a metal weight between the body and the chassis, and of course you've got the metal wheels and the metal buffers and such, and that's quite a nice feature. But yeah, the rest of it is plastic, quite surprising I think for the price. The moulded detail on this is absolutely fantastic. Look at the planking work on the side of the body. Very, very crisp. I love the look of that. And the underframe is quite impressive as well. You've got all of these footboards and stuff which seem to be separately fitted. Again, though, these are not etched parts. These are just made of plastic. They do seem to be sitting relatively straight, I would say. But again, very, very plasticky model. In terms of the separately fitted detail, there's not an awful lot to see here. As you'd probably expect, the handrails are just a part of the moulding and they've just been painted a different colour to make them stand out. I think that's okay. And obviously the lamp brackets and such on the end are all just part of the moulding. Again, this is all fair enough. It does just raise the question, why is this so expensive? Why is this nearly £25? Why is this about the same price as a 00 scale brake van when it is much simpler in the way it's being constructed? I don't know. The ducket is separately fitted though. That's quite an interesting piece, and it does have some little bits of glazing on it. You've got this lamp on the side, which I believe is also a separately fitted part. And then on the verandas, you've got the wood planking effect. That is a separate piece, I believe. And you've got the glazing on there as well as a nicely detailed door. The roof is separately painted, and it does have some very, very fine roof furniture on it. Obviously, you're going to want to be very, very careful not to catch any of that. And I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to get a good shot of this, but there is some interior detail. You've got some benches inside there, and there does seem to be a separately fitted brake wheel. Now that is impressive. The rest of the model is just sort of adequate, but that is impressive. Very, very good. Looking at the underframe, there's not an awful lot to see here. There's a little bit of moulding in the base of the chassis, but really most of the underside is taken up with the coupling system, which is kind of kinematic, as you can see, but it's only really this noticeable when you're looking at the model from the bottom. I think looking at it normally, the couplings are reasonably subtle. The axle boxes look very good. There's quite a bit of detail on there, and you can see there are even the little brake shoes on here as well, which is a very, very nice touch. The running plate itself has been decorated. There's some little prints on there, although there is quite a lot of visible glue on here. So when you consider that and the plastic construction, the quality is just so-so, isn't it? Not bad for the size, I guess, but also I was expecting a little bit more for £23.99 or £24.34 with the postage and the discount. So here is the tanker then, up close and personal for you, and much like the brake van, this is largely made of plastic sole bar, plastic chassis, plastic body, mostly plastic detailing it looks like as well, yet this one is a little bit heavier at 12.8 grams. Although bear in mind the 00 scale version of this model, which is cheaper by the way, was 42 grams, so you're getting 4 times the model effectively in 00 scale. But in terms of the decoration, this looks fantastic. It's got a nice finish, just like the brake van did, and the print work is fair enough as well. Yep, the Mobile print work looks good. You've got quite a bit of lettering on the tanks, and the sole bar is also nicely decorated with a good number of prints on it. Quality-wise, yeah, again, you've got the plastic construction, but you've also got quite a bit of visible glue, particularly on the body. Unacceptable, quite frankly, for the price. This needed to be much higher quality than this in order to justify it. But in terms of the detail, there's quite a lot to see here. So yes, the cabling all seems to be separately fitted, and that really helps it to stand out beautifully at this scale. Looks very, very good indeed. You've got quite a lot of riveting around the cap on the top, very, very detailed area of the model, and you've got this little turning wheel which is separately painted and separately fitted. The brake rigging is also very impressive. You've got the full brake rigging modelled here, which all looks good, although the brake pads themselves are a little bit skewy. Yeah, they kind of done goofed on that, and these are actually touching the wheels so that they're not at all free to spin. Not a free rolling model at all, this one, incidentally. Look at it. Yeah. The coaches that I looked at were much better than this. Again, this is fine. It's a tiny model, but it's so expensive. It's more expensive than the 00 version of the model, and you can still get much larger 00 models for less than the price of this. This is the Oxford Pilchard wagon, which is available for £19 at the moment. Yeah, it's okay. It's quite impressive even in its level of detail, but for me, neither of these models are worth the money. I'm just a little bit miffed that here we're looking at almost £50 worth of model, and they're all plastic basically, and they have visible glue on them. Not that impressive. But okay, let's move on. Let's see how these perform. So everything is down onto the track, and already I've suffered a disappointment. Not with these new wagons from Hornby, but the HM7000 decoder that I put into this Flying Scotsman model. It was fine when I reviewed it, but now I've just powered up the loco and there was a crackling from the speaker, smoke, bad smell, the loco doesn't work, and it looks as though the decoder has burnt out. So yeah, I got 1 day's use out of it, now it's going to have to go back. So unfortunately, I'm just going to be on analog mode again with the Scotsman. The two wagons are on the track and they're really not very free rolling. That tanker is very stiff indeed. Yeah, not a free rolling wagon at all. The brake van is a little bit better, definitely more free rolling, but still not fantastic. Now, it could be that these are intentionally a little bit stiff, so that when they are pushed together in order to couple, there's a little bit of resistance there, so that the couplings actually push together rather than the wagons just sort of pushing each other along without coupling. So if they do couple together properly, then I'll be happy to concede that they are a little bit stiff for this purpose. If they are stiff and they don't couple, then I will just conclude that they are poorly made. So let's find out, what direction have we got Scotsman in? So let's go and do a sort of steady coupling. Wagons together, have they coupled? Sort of. Let's try that again. Let's go again, make sure it's all on the straight. Yeah, that should be okay. Right, let's go again. Try to be steady. There we go. Have they coupled? Oh, only the tanker is coupling, unfortunately. So is it the weight of the brake van that is sort of enabling the tanker to couple, but not the brake van? Let's just try the tanker on its own. Yeah, so the tanker is working, but the brake van is not. That was quite a thump there. Still not coupling. So the tanker seems to be all right. Bear in mind the tanker's a little bit heavier. It's the lighter brake van that is not coupling. So the stiffness of the wheels has not helped. It's just too light. Or the coupling's no good. But yeah, that sucks, doesn't it? Should be able to couple without intervening. There you go. So it has worked. So the couplings are working. Let's just turn the brake van around. Hang on. Let's turn the brake van around and just try the coupling on the other end, because I'd be interested to know whether it's just that specific coupling on one end or whether it's just the design of the thing. So let's go again. Ah, we've got it. Right, good. So, I don't know how many attempts this will be, but let's go from the top. Let's see if we can couple this freight train of 2 wagons together successfully. Doesn't seem like too much to ask for. Right, have we got it? Hey, there we go. So, little bit of a faff there. I mean, it's not exactly a long freight train, and I wouldn't like to put a rake of 20 of these together, but I don't think I will be doing, because that would cost me about £400. So there's little danger of that, isn't there? But anyway, let's get this going. Let's see how it gets on around the track. So to be fair to this stuff, it's staying on the track, it's performing as it should, and, well, there's just 2 of them. The loco is certainly not struggling to haul them. They are quite stiff though, so if you put a big long freight train together and perhaps you're using a smaller loco, maybe the 08 shunter or something later on down the line, maybe you'll start seeing some issues there, but at the moment in this little test they seem to be fine. So let's put them across the points and let's see if we can continue that streak of having never seen any TT rolling stock or locos derail. Okay, let's see how this goes then. Let's stop the train just ahead of the points. Let's open them up. And then I'll switch the loco into reverse. And let's just steadily take this over the points backwards. Yeah, that seems absolutely fine. Yeah, and they went on to the second radius fine there as well. So performance on points, performance on curves seems to be okay. Let's do some ratings anyway for these new wagons from Hornby. The level of detail on these, I think, particularly considering their size, is quite impressive. I love the separately fitted cabling on the tanker, and the interior detail on the brake van is really quite impressive. The underframe detail on both wagons is pretty impressive, as well as is the decoration. On both models, the finish and the paintwork is absolutely fine. The brake van is quite simple though, in that most of the detailing that would be separately fitted in 00 scale is just moulded here, and that goes for the handrails and the lamp brackets. That's fair enough, it does make sense, but it's quite an expensive brake van to have mostly moulded detail. The performance on both of these, I would say, is 3-star. They do seem to stay coupled and they stay on the track okay once everything's up and running, but they are very, very stiff runners. The tanker particularly, because the brake rigging or the brake pads seem to be touching the wheels in places, which is not ideal. And because they're so light, they do have trouble coupling up, as you saw. Instead of coupling together, the wagons just sort of push each other away sometimes, which is not ideal. So you might have to intervene, or you might have to couple them together quite harshly in order to get a good coupling. For shunting layouts, I can see this being a little bit of a pain. The quality then, again, I've given 3-star. I think it's a shame that these are all plastic. A bit of die cast on the chassis would definitely have made these a little bit heavier, and that might have improved the coupling problem. Also, there's a lot of glue visible, mainly on the tanker and its body, but also on the brake van as well, with its underframe detail and its sole bar. Not really acceptable at this sort of price. I don't want to be taking these fine little models out of their boxes and noticing cloudy mists of glue on the bodies and chassis. Not at all okay, in my opinion. So 3-star. Value for money, I've given 2-star. Yeah, these are very expensive. I ended up paying £24.34 for the brake van and £22.64 for the tanker. This does include separate postage. For some reason, again, they came into stock at roughly the same time. And it also includes the TT Club discount. The RRPs are £23.99 and £21.99 respectively. For me, this is 2-star because when there are 00 scale models that are more complex, heavier, and cheaper, these are quite a hard sale. And frankly, I would just recommend getting 00 scale models because they're bigger, you've got more detail, and of course you've got so many more manufacturers producing them rather than just Hornby here in TT at the moment here in the UK. So yeah, it's just not an attractive proposition, is it? Too expensive for what they are, and the quality and the features I don't think are quite good enough to justify the price. Which is a shame because that gives them an overall score of 6.1 out of 10. They are fair enough but not outstanding, and that's a grade of E unfortunately. I think mainly because of the value for money but also because of the slight performance and quality issues as well. So into the logbook they go, and they are 2nd and 3rd place below the Hornby Pullman coaches. Yeah, at the moment I think these are the weakest of the TT models I've looked at. They're far from terrible, but they're far from impressive as well. So there you have it then folks, that is my review of the first TT freight wagons from Hornby. And yeah, they're okay, aren't they? I think the level of detail is adequate, the performance is not impressive or anything, but once you get everything coupled up, they do seem to be okay. And that shouldn't change unless you put a really large train together, and then I think the drag might start to become an issue, but certainly with just a couple like this, they are absolutely fine. The biggest letdown for me really is the price. I just think these are too expensive for what they are. Hornby are not selling these through retailers, so there's no retailer sort of taking some of the profits from these products. They are being sold direct, so really I think given that they're so plasticky, given that they're not really that complex, given how light they are, all of these givens, I just think they could have been a little bit less expensive. And really, Hornby have some thinking to do, because a big part of Hornby's future depends on the success or failure of this TT range. And with the locomotives that I've looked at so far, the value for money is perfectly good. But these wagons are just too expensive, in my opinion. Costing what they do, I think they should have been metal, at least to a degree. The chassis could have been metal. They needed to be a little bit better put together. The visible glue on both models is completely unacceptable. And for me, they should have been a bit more free rolling. They should have had a bit more weight to them so that they couple together a little bit better. Considering I've got almost £50 worth of rolling stock here, not that impressed. I was much more impressed by the locos and the coaches even. But there we go, those are my thoughts. There are more Hornby TT wagons on the way, so I'll certainly be trying those and we'll see how they differ. But for now, that's all I've got to say for today. Let me know in the comments what you think about these products. Have you tried any yet? Looking at them on video like this, do you think these are going to be good sellers? Or do you think they're going to end up in the bargain bin? I don't know. I mean, this is only my opinion. If other people think differently than what I do, then maybe these will sell and people will be completely happy with them. At the end of the day though, okay as models, not brilliant, but okay, but not worth what I paid. Anyway folks, thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon for another review. Alright, cheers folks, take care.